I'm Diego Cordovez with Adam Show and Phil. Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Phil Laak's coming on. Well known, we don't need to introduce him too much, but the one thing that he's done to top his previous antics is he showed up at the first day of the main event in a real sophisticated costume as an old man, and he went unrecognized as he played. So we got to talk to him about that, because that's really something pretty original.
Genius.
A lot of people are doing stunts in the main event. They come in, they're dressed in some clown costume. These become cliches, but you did something day one that was really original and interesting, just as a sociological experiment.
I'll tell you.
How did it come about?
It came about actually like about 5 days before it happened. What was the thing? It was like, I remember there was a guy, the wizard thing, and this, and the Harry Potter, and whatever, and I was like, wow, I'd love to like trump all that. And I was like, how can you trump all that? Then I was like, then randomly, where was it? It was like in the background, the Jackass thing. You know, he's the old man, he's talking to you and trying to get in fights. So I was like, I'll be an old man! And then I got on the phone really fast and I'm calling different like makeup people in LA, and I'm like, well, I don't have time. It turns out you need like a week.
Yeah, they're going to do a mold of your face.
And then somebody says, well, the real thing is gel something high-tech versus foam, and you have to something with the cake, and like a week, they need to do a thing and then carve and rebuild and all stuff. It's like, there's got to be something. They're like, well, there's this thing. Anyone next to you will know that you're like coming from the circus, or they'll think. I was like, well, can you make it kind of look like maybe I was a burn victim that like was putting some makeup on to cover it or something? And she says, we can make it so that people will know that something's funky, but they won't know it's you. And I was like, okay, let's go for it. So I flew her up, whatever, and I had to get up. It was so brutal. The night before the main event, I just found myself at a dinner that went till 2 in the morning. I was like, oh my God, wow, I got to get home. And then because I had to get up at 5 a.m. I had to get up because I had to be at the Venetian at like 5:45. Thank God she had done the thing where you go to the what is it called? Goodwill, and she bought like all these old men outfits, and I was like, yeah, cool.
So you had wardrobe also.
Yeah, so she did the wardrobe stuff, and then she started doing the stuff, and it was like it took 4.5 hours,
right.
And then we ran out of time. We didn't even have a chance to do my hands. So like you'll see there was one picture of me on the internet where I'm like this, and I was like, because every time I did anything with my hands were like completely normal, and I was like wrinkly old sad
But it's
guy.
impossible not to show your hands when you put the
It's impossible.
And
on dinner break, I actually rushed back to the Venetian, and then it's really cool for doing the hands. They put tissue down and this goop stuff, and then they like spray it with this.
You went back to get the hands done.
No, I only had time for one hand. and she said, which hand do you want to do? And I said, do my left hand. And she's like, aren't you right-handed? I was like, yeah, but I want to be like discombobulated, uncoordinated. I don't want to be tempted to chip shuffle or any of that stuff. Right. So like, because it's really hard doing everything with your left hand. And then it looked like this hand's in my pocket. It looked like maybe I had some kind of arm disorder or something. Like I wanted to. So the highlights were this. There were highlights. Okay, breaks were the funnest. I've never had so much fun on breaks. I was like going to the bathroom. I wish I didn't have to go to the bathroom because I just wanted to just drift around people. And it was really hard finding the best places to drift around because at first I thought, I'll go to the Lifestyle Expo show. It took so long to get there. It turns out the best place for breaks are like the back area where like the food and the whole.
Yep.
Because you just wanted to mess with people.
Yeah, totally. I went up to so Jet Youngblood and Brian Mycon and one or two others were in this little group, and I went up to Mike Conn. I was like, you're the radio guy. Yeah, that's great show. I listened to the show. And then he started talking, and it was back and forth. And then
he didn't know.
He had no idea.
And then he had no idea. And then I said, I'm your biggest fan. He said, what's your username? Like thinking I like that. He said. Then he accused me of lurking because I was like, no, I just listen. And he's like, you're another lurker. And I was like, yeah, but I like to lurk. And then we took pictures and. I went up to Bruce Buffer and I was like, I saw you.
So you didn't reveal this to Brian, or?
No, I did. I called them all at the end of the night, right away, like by 1 p.m. Anybody that I knew, I would go up and say something like, I'm a big fan. Like Cindy Violet, I saw her at the poker table. I was like, Cindy, that really fantastic poker. and I look such like a freak.
Were you nervous that you were going to get spotted? Or?
Totally. In fact, I did get spotted. Okay, so I was hanging out when I came. When I was talking to Brian Mycon and his little crew, afterwards I came in and there was some of Antonio and I's buddies that aren't really poker players. Well, do they? No, they don't really. They're poker They play a little bit of poker, but they're mostly businessmen. Yeah, so I was hanging out with them.
Your producers in your game.
No, they're like they don't really play cash games. Occasionally they play tournaments and stuff. So I'm hanging out with them,
buddies,
and I'm still in character, whatever. And then it was Brett's, I think, brother's wife or something, and she realized something was really strange because they came around the corner and close up in that cafeteria light. It's like, ram. You see there was no way you could merge. It was like a mess, It's like, whatever.
So you've probably been sweating and the whole thing.
Yeah, it was like starting to wrinkle up in my face. At this point now, it's after dinner. It's like 2 hours after dinner. The stuff is peeling off, and I'm like trying to hold it together because it's like the thing in the hand. This hand's hidden, and I'm like, it's all peeling, and you can see like my regular hair sticking out. And she goes, "Hey, you're fake. You're fake. I can see it." Really? Like, who are you? And I said, "Oh, you're embarrassing me, ma'am. You're embarrassing me." Look at
right.
And, like, I acted like.
So you stayed in character.
Oh, totally the whole time. Then like I kind of drifted around and whatever.
And at your table, nobody suspected anything.
There was one. Okay, no one suspected anything. There was one dealer. Her name was. It was 4 letters, or 3 letters. It was either Liz or Tina or Lisa or something like that.
It's critical information.
And she saw. She not only did she see it, but she thought like that she was in a what do you call it? Comedy? What is it called? That thing?
Like
that guy?
Camera.
Yeah, Candid Camera is what I was trying to think of. What was the name of that guy way back in the day?
Alan Funt.
Alan Funt. Yeah. She knew it was an Alan Funt thing, and she was waiting for the reveal. She kept doing this thing, like looking at me for body language. Like, and then I did the whole old man embarrassing. I'm a burn victim, and I have like bad makeup on. I'm sorry, like thing. Like I tried to because she was like this.
Right.
She was
See,
like,
Phil did have a backstory. This is what I was wondering. You had to create a backstory to cover the inconsistency in the makeup.
I don't know. But then at the poker table, as far as no one knew, I didn't talk because I was so nervous about talking until like around 4 or 5, and then I would be like, check. Because my hands, if I did this, I have to. So I was saying check.
See, you talk a lot. And I'd be
It was
surprised
like-
you could go that long without talking.
It was
this
insane.
is crazy on 2 levels because one level it's this weird thing to see how people react.
Right.
The other thing is that this is so different from your normal persona. You usually have a lot of nervous energy.
Right,
You're
yeah.
talking. You're pacing around.
It
And
was
that's just
very.
natural.
I'll tell you, there
It's
was
just
many
your
times where I wanted
personality.
to get up and stretch, and I was like, "Oh, the old man can't stretch."
Right, old
Because,
man
like,
can't
you know,
It's going to undermine the thing.
Actually, my pants didn't fit, and so I had them I had a piece of rope holding them up and stuff, and then I had this thing on top of that. But I thought, well, the old man, some old men do have rope.
Yeah.
That plays.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it felt like.
Absolutely. Now, this is still the main event.
as
How
far
did
as-
this affect your poker playing?
There were, at first it started spiraling really bad out of control because for some reason I raised under the gun with 10 deuce of clubs. Don't ask me why, but it was really playing tight, so I thought, well, I'll just build and steal. This was just, and then it came ace, king, 3, and I was like, wow, I just felt like this, he has to have a set of 3s or he has to fold because
Right.
there was only one guy that called.
And you're an old man. You're
And the
not
guy that
there.
called was an old man too. And I'm
Right.
like, this is perfect because he's got a pair of 8s or something like that. So now I can raise him. And so I bet the flop, and he called, and I went, oh, there's a flush draw there. Okay, so when the turn came, I bet the amount that would push off a flush draw and not give him implied value for my stack. And he called again. And then I shut down completely. I was like, okay, he has ace queen. He's afraid that I have ace king, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And on the river, I checked. And he checked, and I was sick because I
show your
showed.
hand.
Show.
I'm out of position. I can't believe I broke the golden rule. Only bluff with position. That way you can tap. Oh yeah, your queen eye is good. Yeah, like I had the flush draw. I missed. So I'm trying to muck, saying and I'm like, well, I want to see what he has. I don't want to just muck. So I say 10 high because I could be a flush draw even though it was diamond.
Right.
And then he's like doing the well, he seemed like a nice old man. I'll just show him my hand. And he had jack high. He had jack 10. Just
Oh my
air.
God.
He had jack 10. Like,
He
not even, he had
gut
one
shot.
diamond.
He had a gut shot.
I was like, the whole thing was crazy. I was like, wow, he called the turn. I was like, maybe, and then I'm thinking, did I remember the action wrong? I started, and as I was trying to
An
muck
old
the
guy
hand,
would
somebody
remember.
says, what did he have? What did he have?
Oh, no.
And they wanted to see my 10 deuce of diamonds, whatever it was, and I turned over 10 deuce of clubs, and then my whole game fell apart. I couldn't do anything. They knew that my brain was unglued. They knew that I was like this senile. So everything I did, I had all the young
But
kids
you
calling
can,
with
you can use
position.
this. Now you can use
I was
this.
trying to use it, and thank God they moved me to another table because I didn't know how to use it. And I was like, so I moved to another table with 16, and by the way, the first table I went up to like 29. Then things just corroded. It went down to 16.
Right.
At the second table, I went from 16 up to 20, down to like 12, up to 18. It was just torture until I had like 15. and a guy had the flush draw versus the overpair, and then he was trying to push me off it, and I just said, well, if he has a set, he wins the money. If he has a higher pair, he wins the money, and I just stuck it all in. And when the check raise came on the turn, I was like, okay, all right, so this is my tournament. And then he had one card to come, bam, and it didn't. The spade didn't come. I kept looking like the old man. I was like, shoot, he missed. And I was like, I had 32,000. I was like, oh, that was the high point of the whole tournament. You know, I just dodged a flush, and I felt like a machine.
Now, Phil, I've often said about you that you don't really have a human personality. I know you like this, but you
the silicon chip thing. That was
your expected value calculator. What was the EV on this? You know, there'll be publicity benefit, but you don't get to use. You know, you've developed an image that you use, and then you often play differently from that image. But now you had a totally no image.
Well, it was really tough because the second table where I thought I was going to have more EV after I undid I had, and I don't know their names, but let's put it this way: 6 people at the table had something that said either Ladbrokes, PokerStars, or Betfair.
Right. And
they all knew how to play. They all paid either 10 or won their ticket. And
but if you're this old man,
there was definitely there was moments where
they're going to try to make some play on you. They'll never ever give you credit for making some replay on them.
Well, there's this one guy on my left that every time there was one time where I did get paid because every time he just kept holding on against me, and he just thought, like, I'm going to outplay this guy.
Right, of course.
So like, I really kind of started to have hands again because he was the guy that had courage. And he didn't have a thing that said Betfair, Ladbrokes, or anything. He was just a solo free thinker. And it was really tough because he decided that he was going to play hands with the old man.
I would do that. I would think, I'll just call him here and then raise him in the turn.
Right.
But it's Phil Laak, which I wouldn't necessarily make that.
But so I was shutting down a lot. Like with this guy, I didn't 3-bet anything. Like the one time where I really got him on a hand was, and it was only like for 9,000, but it felt like a fortune because it was so hard to get him. I was losing 800 and 2,000s all the day. I raised with King 7 of Hearts in the hijacker cutoff. I can't remember, but footnote to this was a year ago. Ted Forrest told me that the first time he learned what the cutoff was, which I only learned 4 or 5 years deep into my poker career, was that week. He said, I just found out what the cutoff is.
I just found out what the hijack is.
The terminology is not important.
That's one more past the... It's like,
right.
So, anyways, I raised with King 7, and he called, and the flop came 7-7-5, and every time I ever checked, he bet. So I was like, I have to check. And then he checked.
I'm like, oh my
God, he has to have a flush draw. Because he has a hand. He has something. Otherwise, he would have bet. So the jack comes in the turn. Still just 2 clubs. Like, please let him have a jack with like 2 clubs. And so I bet like pretty decent the pot.
Yeah.
And he just called, and I went, yes, he has it. And the turn came in king, which gave me a full house, and it gave him a flush.
Perfect.
I mean, I didn't see his cards, but it was almost, and I was like, okay, now I know he has a flush. It felt so like 80% or more-ish. And I was like, if I check raise, I might just get his bet, which could be like 3 or something. If I just bet a little more than the pot, I'll probably get that amount. So the pot had like 42. I bet 45, and he was sick. And I think he knew that the old man finally made a full house. You know, but he had to.
The old man's not bluffing.
Right.
Phil Laak might be.
Grandpa's not coming out with
and
air.
He called, and then But here were the funniest highlights were this. Okay, so the ESPN people. I know this because they came up to Antonio like, oh, your buddy, whatever. And so now, and some of my...
Antonio knew this was happening, right?
Yeah, Antonio and Jennifer knew. And one of the AP guys, Oscar, on the first break, he was like, so how long you were thinking about doing this, Phil? Like, he just starts in right away. And so we started talking.
How did he know?
Because all the reporters have this thing, says, okay, here are 22 players, and he came to my thing, saw Seaton, and he saw this weird skin stuff.
Put it together.
And he was like, okay, that's Phil.
But he didn't out you, which was cool.
Right, no one outed me till like, the ESPN people had so much fun. What happened was this table they were buzzing around a little bit, but I got moved like right away, probably within an hour or two. Thank God. So I go to the other table, and the ESPN people keep floating around, but I could see that people at my table were like really heightened, like curiosity. Why are the ESPN people floating? Where's Gus? Where's Phil Hellmuth? Where's
doesn't make sense.
And one guy even said, "Did one of you guys win $2 or $3 million recently?" Because he thought, which one of you guys is like the new buzz? Like he was a young internet kid trying to figure. And the ESPN people got wind of the energy of the table. They were all trying to sleuth out why, and they would disappear, and they would come out. And then they came back with like long boom mics and whatever. Yeah. And I was like afraid to talk because my voice. So I was like, there was one time where I had a chance to like be a little bit of a goofball where it was really good because a guy raised and I thought, oh, he's he's one of those internet kids. I don't know, whenever I see an internet kid raise, I just think, I gotta re-raise and steal. And any 2 cards. So I looked down, I had a killer monster. I had King 7 of diamonds. So I was like, I have to be winning anyways, so of course I'm gonna raise. He was on the button, So he raises and I like repop it, which was like 30% of my stack is in the pot now. And the pot comes King, Queen, 3, and I'm like, I have the best hand! Because wouldn't he have a re-raise? Unless he has a set, I just felt like, and he checks, and I said, what if he has a set? He's trying to check raise me. I'm just going to check and punish him because I know I have the best hand anyways, and I don't want him like pushing me off a hand with a 10-jack weird kind of draw something. Right. So I checked, he checked, and the turn a club came, and I had the 7 of clubs. Or did I? Maybe I didn't. I thought I had King 7 of diamonds. So I guess I had nothing, but it was 3. But now he bets, and I'm thinking, well, he probably just has a club draw. And I was like, well, I still didn't want to raise him because so I call, but since I raised a lot pre-flop, there was, it was a lot in there.
Right, it's already a big pot.
And now on the river, he checked, and I was like, okay, this is the classic. If I bet he's only going to call with a hand that beats me, blah, 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 like King Jack or whatever. So I just checked, and he turns over King Queen. Like, he flopped a monster, and he thought that I had a monster, which I thought I had. And so the pot was actually kept small because of my actual strength. And
this helped you, because here he's afraid of the old man. The old man's calling.
Right.
The old man, your move pre-flop, he's figuring
he thought it was ace king or aces, and he thought that this actually did help me. Right, this helped me.
Kings or aces.
That's what he thought.
Queens.
So, anyways, at the end of the hand, I lose a ton. I'm down to that was when I re-crippled myself, and before the next healing process happened, and it was at a break, so everyone had left, and when I got up, the ESPN guys were right there, and I started just doing my old man rant, like the Bangor rant, and I was like, oh, these internet kids, VP, IP, and continuation betting, and 2218, where are they all have glasses, and they know all the moves, and I'm like, it's unfair, and I was like doing stuff like that.
So this gets to what I was talking about. So this is a plus EV move because you're going to get even more attention from ESPN than you normally would.
Totally. I knew right in the gate, out of the gate, I was like, how can I want to be the wizard guy or the Harry Potter guy, but I want to
But that's so lame being...
I know, I wanted to crush the field, because the competitive thing...
And by the way, I will... not that you need defense, but the original Phil Laak persona... I don't like the name Unabomber, by the way, because that was a mass murderer. So I don't like that. It's like,
I'm on the same page.
But that was not for attention, because Phil did the same thing with the hoodie and the glasses in
always,
New York, in the private clubs. That was because he didn't want to give off tells.
I remember at Bay 101, we used to call you Unabomber. There was no TV, no publicity. It was just because you looked like the Unabomber.
Right.
You'd be skulking around in your look, and it's like, this guy looks like the Unabomber.
Well, it was funny because part of the reason, oddly
then.
enough, and people don't know this, part of the reason why I started playing cards as the Unabomber guy was because previous to that, if I ever wanted to gamble, it was always, because I didn't know poker existed, so when I gambled, it was backgammon. And in the backgammon world, you sort of had to, you couldn't be a mutant dweller, okay, because there was a certain, Izod boys
you have
club
to socialize in backgammon.
Right, and you have to, you're talking to Wall Street guys and owners, so... and there was kind of a dress code, which I kind of always broke and kind of always got away with it, but I never wore the hoodie. And when I started going to, the first time I was in a poker club, I was like, wow, you could just dress the way you dressed in college and be like, yeah, to hell with the man and professors and all the system. I'm gonna cloak up against the people,
power.
Fight the power. And so I went into fight the power mode day one. I was like, I loved it. And by the way, after an hour of playing cards in fight the power mode, I also realized, wow, it's good that I'm shielded because, at least back in it was animation. It didn't matter. You're killing me. They know you're killing me. You can talk about it. Poker was like, wow, if you get a set, you really don't want the guy to know you're having stuff. So it was very much like a security blanket for 2 or 3 months where I was like, I wanted to be in a different room and have a little Tonka truck push the chips out for me, remote control, but I couldn't do that. I had to be there,
Phil was also one of the first, he was like the human poker tracker because Phil was the first guy I ever saw, and he wouldn't make any secret of this, he'd write down what everyone bought in for.
Right. I want to know how people felt 7 hours in.
Yeah, correct.
Right. Some people would say, hey,
surprised at seeing that, but that was also a smart move.
No, it was just the sickness in me. I wanted to know who was winning, who was losing. And when somebody was in the flow, if somebody was stuck 3 buy-ins, it's easier to, you're like, oh, this is your 3rd buy-in? Okay, I call. The guy's flowing,
Did Jennifer give you any tips on your acting performance as the old man?
No, in fact, I said, hey, what technique of, there's method and whatever. I don't even know what they mean, but I was like, what technique is it where you don't practice at all, and when the outfit's all done, you start practicing right then, or you just like wing it, sort of. And she said, "Oh, that's called the wing it method."
Right.
So I did the total
improv.
right. I did the total wing it method.
And you stuck with it the whole night to the end.
Yeah, in fact, it was funny because the jig. How do they say it? The gig is up. The jig is up.
The gig is a job.
Oh yeah. So the jig could. You could use them in the same sentence.
The turn into a jig was up.
But you could use jig and gig in the same sentence, right?
Yeah, if you're fishing and it's a job. Go ahead.
Right. No, I saw the House of Cards was like, by dinner time, 60% of all the news people knew.
Right.
And somehow it was really cool. I think they thought that, oh, well, I'll keep it on the down low till the last day. But like I knew going in that like it could only be a one-day gig because you get the little thing on day. Everyone's gonna, you know how you check. Oh, these AP. Oh, this guy's from Denmark.
The first day, it's just the news people who know who's in every seat.
Right.
But the second day, it's all
people
public.
go up and they see who's in what seat. So, but one day is enough. Also.
So, do you have a stunt or performance art piece planned for? I'm going to piss in a bottle at the table. Do you have a performance art piece planned for?
I want to it's like such a beautiful opportunity to weave the two. Like I love thinking, and I love games, and I love gambling and strategy stuff, and I also love, theater, being in front of the camera or behind it, whatever they say, whatever. I like entertaining, I like showman stuff, and so I think I kind of like threw all my marbles down on one play on that first thing, and I'm just going to be Phil.
Well, it's hard to top it, but
yeah,
you'll come up with something.
If something comes up in the back, I would love it to. If the little guy in the back with the chalkboard, if he can come up with an idea and he puts it on the board and I can read it, through all the hate, I will take that off.
Without distracting you from your main focus, which is trying to win $9 million.
Right.
It's only $9.1 million this year.
$9 million. Some guy's going to be a superstar.
Yeah. Someone's going to make $9.1 million. It's not bad. Even second place isn't that bad. Third, forget about it.
I'll sign up for third now.
What is third? How many millionaires get made on this thing?
I don't know, actually.
A lot. What was it last year? Like 9, right? 2 years ago?
Only
once. Only the year that Jamie Gould won was the whole table million.
Right.
But
last year I think
a lot.
Sixth or fifth.
I would like to make a random segue-ish, non-contaminated. But this is great, and this is in my kitchen at home, and it's really the huge one. I love all this.
These are from Adam's house, actually.
Adam's library. These are some of the greatest pictures. I love how Bobby Baldwin's like leaning back, like, "Hey, what's going on?" Always the observant, like owl guy, Like
these are all. I'll just say, taken by Elvis Alberts, who has a booth here where he's selling his book. So
I love that
limited edition book, Poker Face 2, and people should buy it.
It's Poker Face 2 with what? Is the one where Jennifer's in the middle spread out? Is that Poker Face 1 or 2?
Oh my God!
Fill in your own.
Spread out.
No, like
I don't know which. I don't know
because I have that big
because
thick
the first
book.
one are just old school. Yeah, that's the one you have.
Okay, right. Yeah.
No
Great
pun
stuff.
intended. Here we have Gabe Kaplan in his full cowboy getup.
Yep.
That's all.
The
rare
Jewish
favorite. The
cowboy.
Jewish cowboy.
The Jewish cowboy.
See, when this was going on, you're in New York hustling your backgammon, rooming with Gus Hansen.
Yep.
That's just a
I
crazy
wished I could go
thought to
back
me.
in time. Like, I would have loved to, if I could have just, if my guidance
Oh, and they
counselor
would
in
have
high
loved
school.
you too, Phil.
Right. No, they would have tried shooting me up and spit me out for like 3
all these Texan guys, Phil
Phil might have been in a hole in the desert.
Right, no, I would have noticed that because like I did.
But yeah, you would have worked it because you always work every situation.
The one thing that I learned was because when I was really young, I was the youngest of 6 kids, and I would pick on, I would start I would instigate. Let's put that was instigate.
Not shocking.
And I found out like the levels that I could push my sisters to before, and I was really by the time I was 12, I knew exactly the point where it was all fun, and that would tip into fun, not
into a beating.
And then the mom and dad and the whole. So I was at a young age. I learned, you can entertain and be a goofball, but you have to know exactly. You have to read people's energy and know when to pull back the rudder.
I mean, it's interesting because obviously a lot of people are drawn to your antics, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but there are certain people who, of course, are probably put off by it or don't like it. But one thing that I learned recently, because I was never part of that backgammon world, and Eric Seidel explained this to me, is that in backgammon, people have to want to play you. It's not like poker where you come in the poker room and the game's going on. It's like half the battle is getting someone to play with you. So how did that work for you? What was your persona in the backgammon days? Because that was your profession. I mean, you were a big
I would say that it's sort of like, like when you're on maybe you guys don't have this experience, but if you're a single guy and you're on your first date, you kind of give the cleaned up version of you.
Of course.
And then
I'm
after,
go on
maybe at the third.
Soon, my first date.
first date period.
Yeah, ever.
So I would say it was just a suspended situation where I gave the cleaned up version of me, if I needed to be more goofy or be rebellish or whatever, I would know when I could pull. Like, there were some guys that you couldn't even swear around because they were like so old school, and there were other guys who were like, okay, it was kind of like a case by case thing. But I was able to find my little spots where I could be more me.
But you consciously would adopt a certain.
But I actually had 3 shirts with the buttons that go down, buttoned up.
They call it button down.
Yeah. And I had a belt where you could tuck in the shirt and the whole thing.
Yeah.
I probably about 30-40% of the days I would go to the backgammon club. I would find one of those shirts, because that's a huge step in the right direction. You're like presenting yourself or whatever it's called.
Did you ever, when we were playing poker in New York, 7 years ago?
God, those
did
were
it
good
occur
old
to you
days.
that you were going to be famous?
No, I had no. Of course, yeah, right. That's like
when
asking.
Did it occur to you that you were going to be famous, or that you were?
Oh, I remember that at about 2004 or 03 or something, I had maybe I had $0 to my tournament roster list, but I was been beating the cash games. Life was good, and there was a USA Today newspaper came out at the Borgata. They like it right when the internet / TV stuff was all happening, and it wasn't like page 1, but it was like maybe page 1 of the lifestyle show. And they did a thing at the Borgata tournament, and they had pictures of, I think it was Doyle Brunson, T.J. Cloutier, Chris Ferguson. Underneath each picture, it was like, $18 million, billion, 27 brain. And then it said, and there was a little picture of this hooded guy, which was me, and it said, Phil Laak, known for his hood. Or something. And that was it. They couldn't say anything. And I was like, holy shit, look at that. I was like, wow.
This is going to be my avenue to fame.
Right? I was like, I don't even need to win anything.
I got to keep my hood.
And then it didn't hurt that I won the world's smallest tournament in the last in the last 4 years. I think I won the smallest amount of money you could win, and I turned that into it was like I squeezed that.
But you're really not a tournament player, if I may say so. You're a cash game player. Is that fair?
That's correct. This month I wasn't a cash game player either. I thought I was until I looked at my numbers and I was like, wow, I played only 4 times, because this year I tried playing more. I did something I'd never done before. The most number of tournaments I ever played at the World Series of Poker was 7, which was last year, and I thought, how does anyone do more than 7? I was like, and this year I really said, okay, Kung Fu, Zen, that's how you do it. You just decide to be
Kung Fu, Zen, same thing.
Yeah. You just decide that it will be effortless. Right. And then I started doing tournaments. I was like, well, it became sort of effortless. You just get to bed before 4 a.m., and you just follow into this routine.
About tournaments.
Yeah, I played 14 or 13 events, including this one. And I thought I was going to, after the second event, when I had cashed twice in a row, I was like, this is easy. Why didn't I just decide to do tournaments?
Now that I'm focusing on this, I'll cash 14 times.
Yeah, but then I cashed 0 times after that. So the second it's like in a piano song when you're you finally get it, it collapses. The second you realize you're getting it. Right. So I think I started feeling the poker thing happening, then it collapsed. So if I could have just cut out the feeling part, I could have maybe continued the result.
So Phil Laak cannot be contained in one episode. He's got stories from New York, from his Las Vegas time.
You can neither stop him nor contain him.
Right. He's unique in that way. He's got the cash games, the tournaments, and his antics. We're going to keep going with him part 2 tomorrow. And for now, thanks for joining us on The Scoop, cardplayer.com, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Write to us at The Scoop at cardplayer.com, and join us tomorrow for part 2 of Phil Laak.
2 bracelets. Awesome.
Well, these aren't easy to win. I remember this one like it was yesterday. My opponent had me down to my left. Sorry. Anyway, it's down to my last few chips. So, I had to call.
We play at FullTiltPoker.com.